Okay. Well, I will just start with don't panic. If you've ever updated the Plone site, if you've updated an ArcGIS website, Drupal, WordPress, if you've ever updated the directory for the state of Montana, you're going to be just fine. This really isn't that complicated. Today is kind of more of a crunch down beginning intro into like how to do pages, that kind of thing. I actually have a list of what we're going to go over today. So we're going to start with just logging in, what the Cascade dashboard is, adding and editing pages and images and files, what rows, columns, widgets, icons are, and then where we have what are called versions, and we'll get to that, and then publishing, how to get your page actually out there on the internet. So with that, do you guys, oh, and I will say too, love to use jargon from time to time. If I am throwing things out that you do not understand, please don't be afraid to stop me and we'll explain it and then keep going, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, so to begin with, this is what our login page looks like. You have to be in the network in order to get into the back end of Cascade. So as long as you VP'd in or RDP'd in from home, whatever, you can get in, but you have to be on the network in order for it to work. And I will say the one funky thing about Cascade CMS is that your C number, whatever it is, the letters, like mine starts with CMB, has to be lowercase. When you log on to like Active Directory, like when you log onto your computer and stuff, it can be uppercase in this one particular instance, and this one catches a lot of people. It has to be lowercase. So with all of that, I am going to use Karen D's identity, and we're going to just start. So from log on, you land automatically on this page, and this is your dashboard. With your dashboard, you can do a couple of things that are worth talking about. One is you can set up these little widgets that are on here. So you can do a link checker if you want to have the have it automatically search your site for bad links and then give you out a report. That is something you can do on your dashboard, and you can, when every time you log in, you can just see like, hey, there's 3 dead links, you might want to go fix these. You can see where this is my sites. This is where you would add a widget. So there's more than what's sitting on there, and it's worth probably taking a minute to go through. I do believe all of them are set up as easily as this one. You just click the little pencil and pick the website, and it only shows you the websites you have access to. The other thing you can do from dashboard is hit this little My Content up in the upper right-hand corner. And what this does is it shows you literally everything that is yours that you have been working on. If you don't want to go dig through the site for something, you can come here to recent and click on it and get to the site and make changes that way. You can also find anything you've actually owned or added. Anything, if you have a bunch of pages drafted, you can easily get to them from here. Workflows is not something that you guys are going to probably be working with right now in locked assets, but they are possibilities should we decide that they need them. And workflows is one of those, you can set it up so that only certain people get to publish, that kind of thing. Right now it's open. So you guys, as you do things, will be publishing. Locked assets are when you actually check something out. So that way no one else can edit it. You lock it so that way you don't end up having a bunch of people jump on in the middle of you doing something to a page or an asset. And then the last one would be tasks. You can assign tasks to other people, or you can even just assign them to yourself. If you like to have a list of what needs to be done, or if you are in there working on a site and you're like, you know what, in 3 weeks, I got to remember to do this, you can put a task in. So that way, every time you log into your dashboard, you will see that pop up and let you know that you have something going on. And from there, you can get to your site two ways. One is under this My Sites. Any sites that you've been to recently will be here. You can also go up to this Go to Site. It's a really decent search. So if you have more than one and you need to, say you have a whole list for some reason, you can absolutely start typing in and it will filter things out. So we're going to start in Sandbox DNRC. Oh, and I should say too, I apologize, just so you know, we don't expect you to remember all of this. You're not going to. We've created a sandbox for you guys. And so in the next week or two, as we're rolling out all of these, uh, as we're doing all these trainings, we're going to hand this sandbox over to you guys and your logins, all that good stuff, and you're going to have the opportunity to just log in and play with all of this. So don't be worried that I want you to remember all this. We don't. we know you'll forget half of it, and it'll be helpful, hopefully, to have a manual and a video to fall back on. And then we're also always around, so you can always put in tickets if you really get lost in trying to find something or how to get something done. So from here, we're going to go into editing pages and also creating new pages. So we'll start with your entire site. And you know what? I apologize. I should probably. Why does this thing always give me such a hard time? Anyway, I'll bring up the test DNRC sandbox. Oh, yes. These are not your colors. This is not what your website's going to look like. So please also don't panic about that. We're literally just applied a theme to the sandbox so it had something to look at, but this is the back end, what we're doing, the pages we're adding, the widgets, all of that stuff, that stays the same no matter what the front end looks like. But know that even though we have this sandbox we're handing over to you, this is not what your site will look like in the end. So as you can see, water, forestry, trust lands, you guys will be down here in director's office, which I think is actually going to sit somewhere else in your header. But for right now, this is where it's sitting and an easy way to get to your pages. And that structure is actually laid out right here. So here's the Board of Oil and Gas, and there's conservation. And here's the director's office, along with all of the pages I've created for you already in your sandbox. So what I did was I clicked on this right here where it says view folder, and it shows me everything right here that is related to this folder. And then on the front end, you can see where those same pages that are over here are showing up in the front end. So these are quite literally your pages. If you need to fix your about. And I'll stop right here. Does anyone have any questions? Am I going too fast? I'll take the silences, no, or it's all right. So we'll just keep going. All right, so I clicked on this page right here and it's loading right here. I can see this is what the actual page looks like on the front end as well. Obviously it doesn't have this weird side content over here, but truly this is a representation of changes you have made as you're going through. You don't have to publish it in order to see things updated. You can look at it in the back end and make sure things are going the way you want them to before you put it out there on the internet for everybody to see. So once you click into the page that you want to edit, over here on the left-hand side, you're just going to click the edit button. Right here is the display name, and the display name is what actually shows up right here. And then the title is what actually shows up on the front page. Like that's the actual name of the page and how it shows up on the front page. So in this particular one, and I opened this one and I did this, it's a little bit different because there's actually a side menu, which there's a couple of different ways to do this. That being said, I am not going to go into side menus today. We're going to go into menuing at a later date once we have everything locked down. So while this feels, you won't necessarily be able to make changes right now in the dev sandbox. Long term though, yes, you will be able to add side menus if you need to on a page or a section and take them away and all that good stuff. banner image. This page, as you can see, does not have the big banner image up here, so that just stays no. You can, although, if you decide you want a banner image, you can go ahead and turn that on, hit the choose image file, and there's a couple of ways to do images. You can browse what's already in here. All of your images, when you upload them, and I'll show you that part in just a second, you're going to want them to go into this images file right here. And then once you're in there, this is everything that's already been uploaded that's just sitting in there. So you can use one of these, or you can use something else entirely and upload it directly from your laptop. We'll go ahead and do this. And in upload, you can see where you choose the file, and that is going to feel like it always does when you choose a file and upload it to almost anything online. It's asking you where you want it to put it. So it's going to the Sandbox DNRC, and it's saying going to the director's office folder. We don't want that. So we're going to click on Sandbox DNRC and come scroll down here. And this shows us all the files that are set up over here. They're also sitting right here. And what we're looking for is this images folder, all images. So if you're uploading, images folder. If you're just going to choose a file, you can choose what it's ever in there and hit choose. Oh, but you still got to go back to the images. So once you choose it, you can then preview the draft if you would like. And I haven't submitted this yet, so it's reminding me. It's like, hey, you haven't actually saved this in any way, shape, or form. But I wanted to look at this before I did anything. And I'm like, you know, it's fine. I don't love it, so I'm going to discard it at this point. Or I can submit it if I was loving where it was going. And you can see this little thing spinning up here. The system is thinking. It's doing a lot, honestly, in the back end right now, and we're not the only person on the server. So just remember sometimes to give it a moment to breathe. It does on occasion take a minute to load depending on what it's doing. So just remember that as you're working through things. But back here in edit, so that was just the banner images. Now the rest of this are going to be all about rows and columns and widgets. And do you guys understand the difference? And I'm sure you do, but I'm going to make sure we actually understand it anyway. The difference between a row and a column, very much like an Excel spreadsheet. Rows go across and columns go up and down. Does that make sense to you guys?
It does, yeah.
So within a row, you can, so this one's meet our director, and on the front here, it's the very first one. It's also the very first row. Whatever order they're in right here is the order that they display on the front. And as you can see, it's just some text and an image and a title, and that's all I did. But I could have quite easily made that a little bit different if I wanted to. So if I had wanted to, I could take this picture and just put in another column. And what I'm going to do really quick right here, I want the container width for this one to be partial, and I want the layout to be even. And what that means is that it's going to split the columns in half. There's 2 columns in this one row, so they're each going to be 50%. But you can also have the right side be a little bit bigger or the left side be a little bit bigger, if that's your preference. So for this one, I'm going to leave the text there, but I'm going to put this picture over here. So we will go into all the different types of widgets in just a minute, but this one is it's what's called a WYSIWYG. and it's a what you see is what you get. We'll go through that in just a minute too. It's the reason why we call it that is because it allows you to do all these things quite easily on the front end, like adding bullets and numbers and things like that. So for this one, I'm gonna paste this picture in here, and I would like it to be centered. And then as you can see, if I hover over it, much like Word or any other WYSIWYG that you've used, if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it does. So once you get here, you can go ahead and check your content and submit it. This next part is going to run a really quick spelling error, broken links check, accessibility. Make sure everything's good. These are good names. I'm not going to change them. They're actually supposed to be spelled like that. So I'm going to, on occasion, I have definitely copied and pasted wrong or spelled something wrong, and it's glaring and it's sitting there. So I'll go back and change it. But this is fine. So I'm going to finish it. And as you can see, I'm going to go ahead and publish it, which I can do right here or right here. And before I've even published it here on the back end, it's giving me a preview of what it looks like. That picture is extremely small, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead with it and publish it on the front end. And so for publishing, so on occasion, it comes in like this, just so you know, hit this little guy right here, hit the toggle. For the most part, this stuff, you don't touch it, you don't change it, you don't need to even look at it. What you really should do and get in the habit of is just publishing to test first, and then going and looking at it really quick. And then if it's cool, coming back and hitting publish again, and then publishing to production. So we're going to publish this to test. We'll also go ahead and go look at, they do a publish queue. When you're one of, 17, 20, 30 people on the server that are actively adding changes, sometimes those changes take a minute because it can't run every single one at the same time. So if 5 people submit it once, there will be a queue right here. Ours went right through, but there would be a queue that just says, it's going to take a minute, and it lets you know over here once it's done loading. And we're going to go back. Oh, wrong one. We're going to go back to site content now. And we'll go over to this page that we've changed. One other cautious thing, and I'm sure you guys have run into this before. Cache can be the bane of our existence. Sometimes you hit refresh and you don't see the changes, and you don't see the changes. Know that sometimes it really just takes a minute for that cache to clear out. So, and we'll put in the manual couple tricks to help clear them out, like Control R, Control F5, that kind of thing. Just the hard refreshes that help. But yeah, cache can be painful. So also never forget, you can always check on a private browser or check on another browser. Like I have not opened this page on Edge before, so it doesn't have a cache. So it would load the newest version first. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah.
Do you guys have any questions so far? I'm going to go with no. All right.
I don't. No, oh, sorry.
Don't be. It's okay. I just want to keep checking in so I don't leave anybody behind. And don't, like I keep saying, don't be afraid to interrupt me. Don't be afraid to ask questions if I'm glossing over something or something doesn't seem to quite make sense as we're going through it. So that's editing a page, or well, editing at least part of a page. We'll go through the rest of the widgets going on over here. So once this loads, we'll go ahead and edit it again. And so we went into the first row. Oh, so you'll see right here, this is about the director's office. This is also about the director's office. I gave it a heading size of H2. And I gave the heading and the background a color of blue, number 4. Your colors will be different, obviously, but you will have 4 colors that you can, or a couple colors at least, that you can apply to the background of different blocks if you want to help do some color blocking to sort out content, whatever you need to do. We'll go into this more later and maybe a little more in depth in the manual, but you can also add in spacing. Are you guys in a position where you'll be designing a lot of pages, do you think, or will you be doing more content editing?
I'm actually, so I'm the legal aid. I'm not super sure on what specifically I would be designing or editing. I would think more the designing part of that. I'm not sure.
Okay. I would guess a lot of content layout, but I don't know for sure either. So, but we'll go over both. I don't want to overwhelm you with so much information. The reality is Cascade's an enterprise system. It has a lot to it. There's a lot to learn. So, and this is just a first training, a first blush to get you in and get you, before we get you in and start getting you comfortable with it. So, and like I said, I don't expect you to remember every single part, but have you guys ever heard the term bootstrap? And do you know what it means?
I have, but not in context of web design.
Oh,
yeah,
no worries.
I pull myself up by my bootstraps every day.
Right?
I know that was like the first thing I thought of. Yeah.
So there is a concept called margin and padding, and I can show it to you really quick. This block already has some built in, but let's say there's something special going on. It's a call out, it's a whatever it is, and I want it to be spaced differently than everything else on the page. You can add in some really quick codes, and it's easy once you've done it a couple of times. It's maybe hard at first because it feels weird, but what I did, and this will be in the manual, I saved this page because this tells you, like, if I want to add margin to the top of 5, then I'm going to write this out, MT-5. It's always the letters and then the spacing. So while that I know probably feels a little weird and you're like, okay, I'm not really sure why I would do that. There are on occasions, especially when you're designing pages, to go ahead and to make those kinds of choices. So once this updates, now see they have a margin. But if I had done, and what a margin does is actually separate 2 different things. So this header is actually separated from this block and it's pushing it apart. You could also do padding. And if we wanted to, we could change this to a P. Sorry, this part always takes a second to load. And now, as you can see, there's still that big difference, but it actually is keeping the block and just moving the text up and down, whereas before it moved the whole block up and down. So those are the basic differences in a very broke down way of margin and padding. It's also just something that is built in that you can easily use to add small design things as you go if you need to. You don't have to, it's just there. And if it's also one of those things, you get ready to design a page and you need help, we're always around. So don't be afraid to ask about things like that, because that's actually, it's a bit more advanced, but it's also not extremely hard and it can be very, very useful. So within here, this column, there is this widget, and this is another, I'm just trying to see if I actually put anything else besides. Yeah. Within widgets, you can choose the WYSIWYG, but there, as you can see, there's a whole bunch of them in here. So there's accordions, and I assume you guys know what accordions are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Sweet. So anyway, accordions, and as you just tell it that you want it to be accordions, do you know what tabs are?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so the across instead of up and down kind of thing where you, yeah. So anyway, you can accordions, tabs, and facts. These are built in. You open it up, you give it a heading if it needs one. Do you guys know what Font Awesome is? And icons.
That one, I don't know what Font Awesome is, no.
Okay, that's okay.
Me
And this
neither.
will also be in your manual. So don't panic. You don't have to know it. It might be one of those things though, especially if you're into icons. I always think of like ARPA, right? Like ARPA was one of those ones when we built it out, we used a ton of icons on it. And they're nice to have. It's a really easy way to add in so you go to font, what I'm doing, this is Font Awesome. It's a website. And what it is, it's a library. It's a library of icons. And we've imported that library into Cascade. So now when you want to, you can look up the different names of these and you can copy and paste it, that font. Example, and here's an example right here for search. And that will automatically show up on the front end. So it'll be a heading, an icon, and then your content.
So we all
Oh.
like have a subscription to that?
Yeah.
Or we're all able to use that? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we'll have the website in there. And honestly, what you want to do too, one of those things we like to point out, you're going to want to use the free. We don't have the paid version. The paid version is very nice, but the reality is most of it you can make work with the free version. So and there's, I don't even know how many, 1,000 icons or something like that for free out there through Font Awesome. So more than likely, whatever you're looking for, you'll be able to find. So
Got it.
so that's icons and Font Awesome. And it's one of those things that kind of jargon you that you'll hear people throw around, and this is what they're talking about. And I'm trying to think like this right here, this little thing, that's a Font Awesome icon.
Okay.
And this is a Font Awesome icon, and so is this. Like all of this little house is a Font Awesome icon. That's what they're for. Instead of putting a whole bunch of text, a lot of times you use icons. So, and that's where this goes. And so you'll see on different widgets, it has it built in because icons are really commonly used. So, so accordions, tabs, and then facts, and they all get added in the same way. You just click the plus sign. That's true for all widgets, all columns you can see. And then at the end of the day, if like you're, oh, wait, I didn't mean to add that, you can go ahead and remove the entire row by clicking the X. You'll also see if for some reason you need to move the, like what's sitting first, second, third out here. The only thing you have, oh, sorry. The only thing you have to do is use these up and down arrows. So if I want this row to be actually third and not second, I would just click that. It's moved it down for me, and then I would save it and publish it if I want to see that on the front end. All right, and then we'll go back to widgets again because we still have more. So blocks, cards, and tiles. And there are, as you can see, there's the icon again. So Font Awesome again, and they're asking for the icon there again. Blocks can be used to easily add in images and videos, external, internal links, all of that good stuff. As you can see, like if you have a video that you want when people click on maybe the video itself, they actually go to a page, you can do that. You can choose the video file. As you can see, this is video internal or video external. Typically recommend external hosting for video if I were you, but I'll let you guys sort that out. And as you can see for your block at the very end, you can also put a link on it, internal or external as well, if you want it. Because sometimes it's not a video, right? Sometimes it's just like an image or like click here or whatever it is that you need, maybe even just an icon with a click this or something to that effect. If you want the block itself to just be clickable, then you can make that so. You can still, within blocks, also just add a link to a specific word if you wanted to. But, and what I mean by that is you could actually, if you have a block and it's a block of text and then you actually just want to make this the link, you can do that. You don't have to make the whole thing a link if you don't want to. So there's just that option. All right. Oh, wait. Cards. Do you guys know what cards are and tiles?
I think I've just heard it called tiles, maybe. I don't know on that one.
Sure. So this is a card tile. When you have that picture and then like a title and a little bit of text and a go somewhere,
okay.
that's a card. And
Okay,
then
I know
we'll
what
look
that
up
is, yeah.
totally. And then we'll look up where did it go? Not title. Oh, I said title now. Sorry. Interesting that they bootstrap cards and tiles tend to be very closely related. Usually cards are horizontally longer, whereas tiles tend to be actual squares.
Are tiles like usually image based or?
Yeah,
Okay,
usually.
that's what
See
I
how this
thought,
has
yeah.
the image, yeah. And a link almost always, and a lot of times a heading. So a lot of times you'll see like just the picture with like a little bit of wording on it, and then you click it to go somewhere,
Yeah.
call to action, that kind of thing. That's what a tile is. So there you go, cards, tiles, and blocks. And there's lots you can do with blocks. Like I said, you can, that can be where you put in, what do they call? I'm completely blanking out, like YouTube videos, that kind of stuff. So there's lots of ways to use these things. Just because I'm showing you one particular way doesn't mean it can't be used in another. So that's actually the nice part about Cascade is it can be rather flexible. You can add in, you know what, we'll come back to calendars because I'm going to be talking to Cassie about these, but calendars are quite easy to add in, and we will have it broke down all the way in the manual on how you do that to add it to a page, because you can sort them by tags and categories. You can do an actual like full image like calendar that lays out the month, that you can sort through, or you can just do like a list of upcoming events that maybe are the next 5 or 6 things that are upcoming, and it's not an overwhelming huge calendar in a page, depending on what you're looking for style wise. Do you guys know what a carousel is?
Is that the rotational kind of one?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. When you, oh, there we go. So, and they typically show you think of carousels, especially like on main banners, right? Like you have more than one big hero image that you can work through, that kind of thing. But you can also add like tiles and cards to carousels. You can add icons to carousels. They can be like quick links that show up on a page to help call out something, things like that. So there's lots of ways to use carousels. And again, with everything else, it's truly just it's already set up in a form. You give it a name, you give it an image, and you give it some text, and you give it a link if you need it. If you need more than one, you just keep adding in a new group and you keep clicking in your new slides. And then it'll be one behind the other. Um, News gallery would be another one. that we will go into later. But again, much like adding a calendar, there's a couple of different ways. There's a couple of different options, and you can also sort news in the same way, like through what's it called? Through tags and categories, all that good stuff. And of course, our famous WYSIWYG. Oh, and the very last one, sorry. And that's about it. Do you guys have any questions so far?
I'm sorry if you've covered this already. It's just like a lot to,
Yeah.
Is there a way in one like website manager I've previously worked with, there was a way to retrieve previous edits if I like massively screw something up or?
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up. That is
Okay,
one of the
yeah.
things I said I would go over because we're honestly almost to the end. Like this is mostly what we're going over today: how to add a page.
Oh, good.
I
Yeah.
haven't actually got. Oh, I haven't got it. We'll go over in a minute how to add a page and event, but like how to edit a page and how to use widgets, like what's out there. So, and like I said, once we get through this and we get a manual to you, we'll get you logged in so you guys can practice and touch stuff and look at things. But no worries. What you want to do for versions is find the page you want to find the version for and click on it. Make sure it's showing right here. And we'll let it load because it's thinking about it. And we'll click over here and oh, sorry. I have to get rid of that first. Now I'm wondering if I have enough versions, if it'll bring it up. The one thing, if it doesn't have a ton of versions, if it only has one, it's not always as easy. So as you can see, once I got rid of the weird, I had been playing but not submitting any of my edits, so it was holding on to it. So I discarded it because we don't need any of the stuff I was doing. I would either need to submit it or publish it in order to get to versions. So once we did that, if you're on the page, you'll go over here to this more, and you'll see where it says versions right here. And then everything they have for a version is lined out right here in this list. You can, well, you can do a couple things. You can actually like click on it and it will show you the version from yesterday at 4:29 and actually physically show it to you. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I didn't have that picture split out in 2 columns or whatever it is that we're looking at. And the other thing you can do is we can do this. And then do you see this menu that popped up once I clicked?
Uh-huh.
You can restore it. If I did this, it would automatically just start moving and it would restore it to yesterday's version. I can compare it with the current. And if I do that, it'll show me what the differences are between the 2 pages before I restore it. So it's telling me you moved all this. This is all different. This looks funky. So you put
like
in weird padding. Yep, the highlighted ones are different. So that's what it's saying it will change. The purple is, I think, where it was.
Oh, okay. No. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. And now it's sitting over here. And so, yeah. Anyway, either way, if you decide that you don't want to be in here anymore, you don't want to compare anymore, you're done, you can just click pretty much anywhere. Usually it'll get you out of it and take you back to the main dashboard on your site. All right. And one more thing we will be going through today, which is adding new content. And as you can see, it has the big red button so you don't get lost. And you just click it and uh-oh. Well, then there's a permissions issue here. I am going to be myself for a hot minute. Sorry. I have a bit more permissions than you guys do. So that's usually why we run as you guys while we're doing stuff, but that's okay for what we're about to do. So normally you would see a thing that says page right here, and I'll fix Karen D's permissions anyway. I'm making myself a note as we talk to make sure that she can actually do this, because we want you guys to be able to add pages and events. So pages are truly a form. You start here with what is the actual page name, and you'll see right here. So this is not the title that displays, and this is not the name that displays over here. This page right here is what actually goes right here. So when you're naming this, if you try to say, what would be, if you try to say, name it admin hearings like this, it's going to turn red and it's yelling at you. What it's telling you is you have to have like a hyphen or something. It has to be all one. So you can just use the suggested name that it's giving you, or you can rename it yourself to whatever you want. But that very first one has to be all one word, because that's actually going to be the name of the page in the system itself. After that, the display name, all of that stuff, that's this right here where it says about, and if it's about all that good stuff, that's where that goes.
Lori, I
Yes.
added the permissions for her account, so that's good to go now.
Ah, thank you. Sorry. I would swear I checked that already, but for some reason I must have been, I think I looked at John Adams and not Karen D, and I think that was my problem. And I realized John was going to be a site admin. So anyway, moving on. Placement folder. So it's asking you, where do you want this to sit? And placement folder, when it says sandbox DNRC, that means that I'm gonna just go ahead and close this really quick. It'll actually go outside of all of these folders. It'll go down here. So if you are creating a page that is supposed to be a part of your section, like say you're creating one for the director's office, you want to make sure that this actually says director's office. And as you can see, there's a context here where it just loads whatever you've been in recently. It's not always handy. It's usually easier just to go to browse and then scroll down until you find your director's office and just choose that folder, because that's where you're going to want your pages to hang out more than likely. But if it's any of those other folders as well, then just make sure you grab the right folder. Do you want to include it in the menu? Display breadcrumb on pages, you can choose yes or no. More than likely, this is going to be handled globally, so it's not going to necessarily matter to you guys, but there is always that option if for some reason you really needed a breadcrumb. And then from there, is this a page that has a banner on it? If yes, then turn it on. If not, leave it off. And from there, you just start creating your page. What goes first? What goes second? And when you are done, as usual, you check your content and submit it. And that's pretty much true as well. We'll go through events and news are basically the same form as well. And this again is the same thing. It's the actual name of the page, what shows up in the URL, what's part of the system. So it has to have hyphens or be all one word squished together. This is an event and it's already set to go to calendars, so I'm not gonna move that, but there can be more than one file folder inside calendars. So just know that that's always a possibility. And then whatever the name of your event is, anything you need to add, start and date, start time and end time, and then if there's any tags that need to be used. And the reason why there's tags there, especially with news and calendar events, is there's a couple of ways to set those up. And one way some people do is the entirety of the department has a calendar. that is shared, like say on the front page, but you use the tags like you would tag it for director's office. So that way, if on the director's office page, you also have an upcoming events that is just for your section, you can use those tags to filter everything out and it will work. Show up on your page, but you only have to input events and news into one place. If you have separate calendars, like say you guys as the director's office have your own calendar and the agency has its own calendar, then there's two places you're going to be adding events every time. So it kind of depends on how your setup goes, but that's what tags are for. And you can also, even if you wanted to filter out, say maybe you have a special event with a special page, you have your own calendar, you can use tags like say ARPA. I keep picking on ARPA, but say ARPA is having some sort of special thing and you have a special ARPA page and you just want events for ARPA on there. That would be a really easy way to grab those. And I think we're about done. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't. I'm good for now. Thank you.
That's okay. I didn't I didn't know if you do, that's awesome because quite honestly, the questions that we get back, we're adding into the manual to make sure that we're as specific as possible and explain things as much as possible. But also there's a lot of information being spewed at you right now. So I'm not surprised that
I'm sure
you
I'll
need
have
a little
questions once I process. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah,
Same with
and
me.
no worries. I get it completely. And you guys will end up getting some time back today. But, if we have anything else, if anyone else on the call has any questions or anything that you want me to go through, anything that doesn't feel clear yet, now would be a super time.
No questions right now. I'm more of when I start using the system, then I'll have the questions.
Most people are. I absolutely get that. I'm the same way. I can watch something all day, but until I get in there and start playing with it, it doesn't really mean a lot to me. So,
But it was a good overview, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
well, thank you. I promise it won't feel quite so messy once you start getting in there. If you've ever updated websites before, it'll feel a lot like a lot of other website CMSs that you've used, and you'll get used to the little quirks here and there. And but yeah, mostly I always just go back to please don't panic. We're here. We're creating videos. We are creating manuals. We will be around that you guys can file tickets even 6 months from now, like long after you've launched, all that good stuff. So this is just a start and a way to get you somewhat up on things before we set you loose in the sandbox. Well, I think if we don't have any questions or anything else, I'm going to give you guys back like 40 minutes of your day, which I know everybody else loves.
Thank
Lori,
you so
thank
much.
you. Yeah, thank you so much for walking through
Appreciate
this.
it.
It's been really helpful.
Hey team, this is Marianne. I want just for 5 minutes since I have you, if I could just have the DNRC core team stay on for a second, like Cassie and Lori and Chase, Caitlin, who else? Chris. So Karen, you don't need to stay. You're welcome to, of course, if you want, or Jean. I just have some kind of business I want to talk with you about while I have you on the line. So I'll
Yeah,
wait for
sounds
those other
great,
guys to get
Marianne.
off. Thank you.
Works for me.
Thanks.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for. Okay, cool. So I just wanted, and I really am not going to keep you because I know we all have meetings. So thank you, Lori. That was my first training, and I think I learned some things. So I appreciate that. But I was just wondering, well, I was wondering two things. So one for the SIDSD team, and forgive me that I don't know this. When we talk about the sandbox